Well, hello. I'd like to welcome you to my first impressions of the. That sounded really excited. My first impressions of the Moonman M700. And I got some bad and some good. Some really bad, but some really good. So let's dive into it. And stay tuned for after the writing sample because I'll have some updates on many, many months later because I did my writing sample in this notebook and I no longer use it. So it turns out this is actually quite an old video. I just kind of hung around my hard drive and like, whoops, never used that. So let's take a look at the pen. All right, so this is the Moonman M700. I think you can kind of tell maybe a certain pen that it's trying to emulate. Maybe. But there's some definite differences. Same clip, same general shape, same general size, but it lacks this little band here. But it makes up for it by adding other random bands elsewhere for no obvious reason. I was quite taken by this striped finish. I honestly had no interest in the pen at all. And then I saw this striped finish and I thought, I have nothing like that in my collection. And that's kind of sexy. So, I splurged. Not a real expensive splurge, but even so. One thing I'm noticing here though, we definitely have 3 different pieces of plastic. Uncap it, the stripy thing continues. I am unsure if this is just the nature of the plastic or if we've got... No, we do have more pieces because I'm stupid. So, cartridge converter pen. Here, this was a surprise. I honestly expected a cheaper nib. I did not expect to see a Bach nib. But there you go, a Bach nib. And it's a number 6 nib, so I'll be able to change it out if I am so inclined. Open it up, and as I was about to say, we've got a cartridge converter pen. So with all this blue and stripes in it, I think a little bit of Parker Quink washable blue would be appropriate at this juncture. Got some bubbling. Getting a little ink. Oops. Running away from the camera. Oh, we are sucking a little air. So we'll prop the ink bottle up. Try that again. Oh, much better. And we'll go for a 3rd snort. There we go. So yeah, definitely looks like some different pieces. Alright, so I won't say that was the best start to a relationship with a pen, but sometimes pens need a little kick in the pants to get going, or they just need a day or two, or whatever. So, of course, we have Parker Quink, and that's one of the reasons why I always write the name of the ink, just to give it a little more chance to get flowing correctly. You know, it doesn't feel... I mean, it feels okay on the page, it just feels a little draggy. It definitely seems to be inconsistent. Let's see what we get for flex. None. Well, maybe a little, but I'm not like super excited, honestly. I was hoping with a Bach nib it would be better. I may have to look at the nib later. You know, I'll update you when I do the me talking part is usually filmed a few weeks after I do the writing. So I'll have had time to experiment with this pen and find out its little traits. So I'll fill you in at the end when you see me again. So wetness and flow. Inconsistent. Let me zoom out just a teensy bit. Smear test. I'm going to predict it smears, just not a lot. Okay, yeah, I'm right. And reverse writing. A totally useless ultra extra fine. And finally, the world famous Peer Gustafson test. And I'm going to predict a failure here too. And I'm right. And you can especially tell in these horizontal strokes, especially this one. Let me zoom in on it a bit. Okay, especially on this one, you can see the on and off nature of its flow. And yes, this pen has been cleaned. So, is it the nib? Is it the feed? Is it the ink? I don't know. I'm not, even as a regular writer, I am not impressed with it right now. But it also uses a number 6 nib, so I can easily switch the nib out for something better. So that was the Moonman M700, and as you can tell from the video, I was not as excited as I sound now. And there's a really good reason for that, which you saw. It was a horribly inconsistent writer. And the Bach thing had me excited, because, you know, I have a lot of good feels about... Yeah. A lot of good feels about the vintage Bach gold nibs. Well, it wasn't gold, and it wasn't very good. It was horrible. I did not like the writing experience with this nib. And this pen sat for months and months and months and months after that horrible time. But, excuse me, recently I was playing around with some nib transplants, and I have a Stipula nib, Stipula T-Flex, which I'd put in a Noodler's Conrad. Well, I had also traded for another Stipula nib. I traded a pen, which you don't need to worry about the details of all that. But the important thing is I traded for basically a nib and somebody who had destroyed their pen. And it also failed to work in that stupid Stipula pen. So I was feeling kind of bummed out because I did trade a very nice pen for it. But I put it in this Moonman M700. I tried it first in another pen, but that was a fail. It's found its home. It's beautiful in this Moonman M700. So here's a nib from a really classy pen in a cheapy Chinese pen, and it's just a match made in heaven. So I'll have video of that, of course, on Friday with pens in use, but I am thrilled with the Stipula nib in this. But the Bach nib, not so much. So, I don't know. I'll keep the Bach nib. Maybe someday I'll find the right pen for it, but it wasn't this one. So, but so glad I did that. So, especially at the lower cost pens, sometimes a nib transplant is all you need to really get a great pen out of. Because pretty finish, even if it's, not as lined up as a more expensive pen would be. Just very lackluster writer. Now, as he grabs his collar, why did I wear a sweater for this video? I don't know. I wore the same sweater last week in Pens in Use. So, without lots of struggle, it fit on to the sweater. So, yeah, it passes the pocket pen. It passes the pocket test. Just all in all, until I switched nibs, I could have cared less about this pen. Didn't care at all about it, really, because I didn't like how it wrote. But now it's amazing. And I'm seeing the true value of a T-Flex. So I'm hoping someday I find a Stipula where I can enjoy T-Flex. Because their nibs perform beautifully in pens that aren't made by Stipula. So, but on the Moonman topic, I The form factor does not bother me. I could do, like I said, without these two trim rings, and we'd have a winner of a pen, especially with this stipula nib in it. So, yeah, work on your nibs. I've had other Moonman pens that are just great with Moonman nibs, so why do we have to go to Bach? I don't know. But anyway, nib transplant did the trick. So I want to thank you for watching. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.